Okay, first things first, let's go ahead and talk about very briefly about the medicine wheel and the Dreamcatcher. Now, the Dreamcatcher has the story about Spider Woman attached, and it is very different in terms of aesthetic to the actual medicine wheel. Now, aesthetic means the way that something looks. Now, in the case of a medicine wheel, you have four specific colors. If you want more in-depth detail on the history and information about the medicine wheel, please feel free to look through the slideshow that I've attached onto this assignment. So what do we have here? I have two objects. What you're going to be working on is the medicine wheel itself. I went ahead and I brought out a small dream catcher so you can see the general idea of what a dream catcher looks like for those of you that are a little less familiar with the different designs. Now, the dream catcher has the specific web on the inside. Now, the medicine wheel has four different sides, four different colors, specifically the white, black, red, and yellow. Each one has specific symbology. So the different symbolism has to do with the nature of things and with the creator themselves and with the directions, the four directions: north, south, east, and west. So in your kit, you have been provided with yarn for hair pipe beads, for pony beads, an abalone shell bead, as well as a hoop, a needle, and feathers. Now, if you're in elementary school, your yarn will look a little bit different and you're just going to have to lay it out flat. But if you're in middle school or high school, you've been provided one of these, which has a little bit extra yarn so you can make it nice, tight weave like this. If you're in middle school or elementary, you're going to have a little bit less yarn and you'll just do a slightly looser weave. Now, one thing I am going to go ahead and say right now, for those of you that are in middle school, high school, your needle is not really designed to go through the beads themselves. It's really there to help you to finish off your project at the very, very end. Okay, so keep that in mind. It does sometimes fit through the big beads depending on what needle you got. In this particular case, this needle that I have to work with does not actually fit. So I'll show you how this comes into play later on. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and start winding your yarn through. Now, in the slideshow, it does go through the different tribal associations and layouts that you can do. So in some cases, it'll start, instead of on white and yellow, it'll start white, red, and then go yellow, black, or it'll rearrange the order, or it might even be designed to go this way at an angle. Your tribe will have a specific style. I highly recommend taking a few minutes to try to look that up and decide which style of medicine wheel you are going to do. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping. So in this case, I started with white, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the white yarn. Now, if you are middle school and high school, you can go ahead and fold down the two edges on the sides, and it should just slide right off the end. And you can take that entire section of that color off the end, just like so. Now, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to go put your yarn over. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see. So I have my wheel, my hoop. You're going to put your yarn over the top, go underneath, crisscross, and through the loop. This is going to make a knot at the top. You need this knot in order for it to stay where you want it to stay. Now, you can tape this down if you want to, if you're struggling or if it's sliding too much. But on the hoop, there's going to be a spot very much like this where it has a slightly different color and a little lip, and it'll make it grab on just a little bit. Now, at this point, you can go ahead and start wrapping your yarn over and over to go all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward at this point so you can go ahead and see how I'm doing it. So notice I have a little bit extra yarn. I made it all the way to the quarter mark. So you want to imagine that it's broken up kind of like a pizza pie. You want where you have it in half and in half, just like this, okay? Now, once you reach that quarter section, you can either push it up if you're a little too close, or if you don't have quite enough yarn, you can spread it out a little bit and loosen your weave, depending on whether or not you have enough to reach that corner. You should have more than enough to reach that edge. Now, once you reach this corner, you're going to go ahead and go through again, but this time, instead of pulling it tight, you're going to pull up this loop and you're going to go through that loop. And that's going to create another knot right there that's going to help you tighten it. You're going to do that twice. So again, you're going to pull it out and you go up. It's going to create a loop here and you're going to go through that loop just like so. You're going to pull it tight. Okay. At this point, you're going to go ahead and cut off the excess yarn. Make sure you leave a little bit of a tail, approximately, let's go with about 2 inches, just like that. Okay. So once you have your little tail right there, you're going to go ahead and get your next color. And I'm going to move that white out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the yellow. So in this particular case, I had the white on this side and the yellow on this side. It might be in a different order depending on what you have, and you can fold down the little tabs on the end, and once again, you can go ahead and just pull the next color right off of the spool. Might take a little finagling, little wiggling on there, but it should just pop right off just like that. So you're going to start it just the same. You're going to go ahead and go up and over, just like so. You're going to lift it, go through, and tie the knot, just like that. And you want to tie it on top of your tail for the previous color. And you're going to do that every time you need to change colors. I'm going to go ahead and pause every time I change colors just so you guys can see how I do it. But I want to go ahead and continue going. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that double right there. This time, instead of leaving the tail out, I'm going to go ahead and wrap over the top of both of these tails. I'm just going to wrap over and around on both of them. This is going to help to tie these down. You want to go a little bit loosely at first, just a little bit. Hold it in place. You could tape them if you're struggling, but I did not provide any tape in those bags, so you'd have to provide that yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward at this point so you can see the next color. Okay, that should be just about enough. So I'm going to go ahead again. I'm going to bring this up so you guys can see it. I have the last loop right there. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to hold it open with this finger so that it stays in a nice big loop. Okay, I'm going to take the rest of the yarn and I'm going to pass through the loop and tighten it up. Repeat, put my fingers, pass through the loop, and then tighten it up. Then I can go ahead and cut away the excess. With this extra yarn, you can actually use it to make a second medicine wheel or another decoration if you need. In case you have extra, you can go ahead and make something else out of it. Because remember that these are very important colors. And you should have plenty for your project. Now let's say, for example, like right here, these are coming loose a little bit. You can actually tighten them up or loosen your yarn depending on how far you've moved and if you want it to tighten or loosen. So I'm going to go ahead and scooch this over just a little bit right there. So the next color for me on the color wheel is going to be the red. So I'm going to go ahead and just take that right off the end just like before. Now again, for those of you working with elementary school age students, you just have it in a Ziploc bag. You don't have to worry with this process, and you won't have quite so much yarn to contend with. I wanted to make sure that those of you in middle school and high school have a little bit extra in case you want to make something else. So I want to go ahead next, and I'm going to go ahead and go up and over and just tie a knot just like before. Now if you want to just tie it to the previous string, you can, but it's not recommended. I'm going to go ahead and tie it twice. And once again, I'm just going to go back over those tails, and I'm going to keep wrapping all the way around just like before. Okay, so I've just tied that next knot right there. I'm going to go ahead and scooch this over just a little bit. Now notice it's coming loose right here. I'll show you in just a minute how to go ahead and handle that if there's an issue in terms of unwinding. Okay, so let's say you have a piece that's coming completely undone. So what you can do is go ahead and grab that knot that you started off with and just start twisting it back around in the direction that you were in, the opposite direction of how you twisted in the first place. So when I was wrapping, I was going this way. So you want to start twisting the other direction. And that's going to go ahead and tighten that weave back up again. So you can see how it's tightening it up. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you by grabbing this end piece, going the opposite direction, bringing it towards myself. So that's going to help to tighten that back up to a certain extent. See how it's tightening it up, and you can't see that wire anymore. So what you're going to keep doing is just keep winding it the opposite direction that how you put it on in the first place. And that will help the yarn to tighten it back up completely. And once you are happy with the tightness, just leave it alone. And when you're winding it and getting towards the end, you are going to go back over that starting string. That is very important to make sure that it stays put. So you're going to make sure that it's nice and following the line of the hoop. You're going to put your yarn right on top of it, and you're going to very tightly try to weave it in. It's going to take this one's going to take a little bit longer than the other colors because you want to make sure that the white where you started, it stays exactly where you put it. So I went ahead and did this on purpose. So let's say you're working on it and you've got it all tangled up and you don't even know which way you're going anymore. So what you can do, you can go ahead and cut the yarn as far out as you can. So you can take it loose. Then you can go ahead and undo this one without as much issues. Now, if you're lucky, you won't have to add any more yarn in, and you can go ahead and get through the top. Now, let's say, for example, you added a little too much white or whichever color you started with, and you want to get back up. Remember, you can put the color back over on top of another color to help even it back out. Once you've reached the end, what you're going to do is you're going to do that same knot that I showed you before, where you're going to wrap it around that last time. You're going to put your fingers, go around your fingers, up through the hoop, and tighten it up like so. You're going to do that twice. Okay, that gives you this last string. Now you might have all these little bits hanging out, and you can go ahead and just take a pair of scissors of some sort, just kind of snip those right off. If you can see a little bit of the other color underneath, that's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. And just twist it a little bit, and usually it'll just bury itself. And if it doesn't, again, that's okay. Now, something else that will be in your kit that I forgot to mention earlier is this waxy type thread, which is called artificial sinew. Now, traditional sinew comes from the ligaments that connect bones, but this is artificial sinew. It's not real. This is what you're going to be using to thread your beads, which is why the needle is not really designed to go through these, because it's really not needed for that. I just dropped my bead. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do, you're going to remember that same knot that I told you before. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of thread about this long, about a foot. If you want to go exactly, you can measure it out a foot. It doesn't need to be exact. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and tie it to the very top. You're going to come around. You can go ahead and tie it. Just the same thing. So hold it out, tie it just like so. If you're having a struggle and you're in elementary school, make sure to ask for a little bit of help when you're tying the knots. So the next thing you're going to do, okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get the harebone beads, okay, a hair pipe bone beads. You're going to go ahead and slide it all the way to the top, and you're going to take a second bead. You're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, you're going to string that one on as well. You're going to just go through and slide it all the way to the top, and it should go on very, very easily. You're just going to go ahead and tie that across. So you're just going to put it, notice how it's loose. You're just going to line it up with that bottom line. Okay, you're going to put your finger, go through the hoop, go around the string, go underneath the string, go through the loop by your finger, keep it tight, and you're going to pull it tight. You're going to do this again. Again, put your finger, go through the hoop, go over the string, under the string, through the circle that you made with your finger. You're going to pull it tight. Okay? So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to measure another piece of string. You should have you should get about a foot. And there should be extra enough for you to be able to do something else with this project. But I wanted to make sure that you had plenty. So you're going to measure out just about a foot. But you're probably going to have extra. Don't worry about it. Okay. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start it again. This time you're going to start on the west side. You're going to go, and you're going to go ahead and tie a little knot right there. Go around, take the little end, go around, go through the loop, and tie it down. Now, you're going to put, this one's going to be a little bit trickier, okay? You're going to get the first hair pipe bead. You're going to put it on there. Pulling it tight, I'm going to push one bead up to the top, go around that middle part, okay? This is going to create a loop. You're going to go around the bead, up, and through the loop. This is very important. This is what's going to keep your dream catcher, or not dream catcher, your medicine wheel in one piece. Okay, you're going to make it nice and tight, and then you're going to go across to the other side, and you're going to go ahead and do the same thing that you did before. You're going to add the hair pipe bead. I have lost one. There it goes. I found it. You're going to add the hair pipe bead. Should be very, very easy to get that bead on there. Okay, you're going to put your finger, go around, up, through, and tighten. I'm going to do this one more time. Around, up, through, and tighten. Now notice that some of these beads are just a little bit bigger than others. That's okay. If it's a little too loose, you can tighten it in a minute, okay? I'll go ahead and show you how. You can go ahead and just slide it just like that, okay? You can tighten the beads, you can tighten the string, you can redo it if you feel more comfortable redoing it, okay? So don't stress out too much. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add the medallion. That is this bead right here. Now, you might be sitting here wondering, what's this for? I don't understand. So this part is actually part of how we're going to be finishing this off, and I'll explain that in a minute. So first, you got to make sure that your design is set up so that it's facing the right orientation. For some of yours, it's going to be this way. For some of yours, it's going to be this way. Others, it's like this. Others, it's straight up and down like so. Whatever direction your tribe prefers, that's the one that you're going to want to go with. Now, that is a case-by-case basis, or you can go ahead and just copy the way that I'm doing it, however you feel more comfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these little tassels off. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get a little bit of extra string of my choice in color. I'm going to go ahead and go with black. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and tie this on into the center. Now, the reason I'm tying this on is to give this a little bit of support. I'm going to do this with one color here. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of the white. And I'm going to go the opposite direction. So this one I tied this way. This one I'm going to tie this way. This adds just a little bit of support to that center section. Once you're content with that, I'm going to go ahead and get another section of this, just about 6 inches. And I'm going to go in through the top. You can use yarn too if you're more comfortable using the yarn. You're going to go in through the top and again in through the top. So through the top both times. Just like so. Then you're going to decide which side do you want to be the front. Is this the front or is this the front? I'm going to go ahead and make this the front. I'm going to put this right in the center. Come onto the back and just tie this on. Now, in your kit, you have also been provided with extra beads and feathers. Now, these beads can go onto the sides, or it can go onto the feather can go onto the center. So you can have feathers on the sides of it. You could have one feather. You could have 2 feathers. You can have a feather in the center. What you decide to do for that is up to you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put a feather in the center. So in order to do that, I'm going to need a little bit extra string. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do yarn just so you guys can see it with a little bit of yarn. Go ahead and use the red this time. And for this, I'm just going to go ahead and twist extra tight so that I can get it through to the front. Okay, that's not working. Whew. That didn't work the way that I wanted it to, so I'm going to go ahead and change my plan. So one thing that you can do, once you have that on there, you can go ahead and put a string, just like so. And you can also use the needle to go ahead and get in underneath the twine to help you add right to the center. So again, I'm just going to add a feather to the center, but you can add yours on the side. You can add yours on the top, whichever you're most comfortable with. So I'm going to go ahead and just chop this bit because it's all frayed. And I'm going to push that through the bead to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to twist, tightening it up. I'm just going to push it right through the bead. If you're struggling, even though the needle doesn't go through all the way, you can use it to push your thread back through. Oh, it went through. Perfect. Okay, that's one. So I'm going to go ahead and try and show, it might actually fit through the pony beads for you. Let's see if it goes. Nope, that didn't go this time. Oh, there it goes. Just gave it a little bit of extra effort and then it'll go. I thought for sure it wasn't going to go through that bead. There it goes. So that puts both beads, and then you can just tuck your feather right into the top of the bead. Just like so. And the beads with the pressure will hold it in place. Just like so. Now, the other reason that you have a needle is to go ahead and finish it off. So you're going to go ahead and take whatever extra string you have. Now you might have to tie an extra string on, but you're going to go ahead and you're going to push the needle down through one of the other colors and back over. You're going to try and hold onto a loop. Just like so. And this is going to create a loop for you to be able to go ahead and hold onto it. You're going to go around through the circle and pull it tight. Go down and around through a circle and pull it tight. And you can go ahead and cut off the excess. And there you have your medicine wheel. Now again, you can go ahead and put some on the sides. You can put one on each side. You have enough feathers to add them however you decide to add them. You can put just one. You could put one on each side. You could put a couple of them in the center. You could layer them up. You have an assortment and you have different colored beads as well. Now you will have 4 beads provided to you as well as the medallion, but you don't have to use all 4 on your medicine wheel. You can just use 2. You can use 2 on each side. That is how you're going to be able to customize your medicine wheel according to you. Hopefully you guys can enjoy this project. And again, make sure you're looking through the slideshow that we've attached for a little bit more information on medicine wheels.